So you want to know, I feel like that's how all the videos start. So you want to know the pros and cons of living in Ballard? We can just leave all that in. We're going to get into it right now. Really appreciate you sitting down with me. It's Justin Gazub, living and moving to Seattle, Washington. We're going to get after it straight away. I don't even think we're going to drop a sizzle in this. We're just going to go right into the pros and cons of living in Ballard. So if that's the details and information you're looking for, looking to live in, move to, learn everything you need to know about eat, sleep, play, work, drink, whatever you want to do, go yachting, right here in Seattle, Washington, then this is the channel for you. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, thumbs up, leave us a comment, all that fun stuff. And we'll be dropping new videos on you all the time. So give you the details and information that you're looking for. We're helping people move out here in and around town, from out of town, California, Texas, all over. Shoot us a text, give me a call. If you don't reach out, we can't help you. Let's get into the pros and cons of living in Ballard. If you're thinking about moving to the Seattle area, you have probably heard of the Ballard neighborhood. Ballard and Capitol Hill, I've got to say, are probably the most renowned neighborhoods outside of the area that people hear about most. And what makes Ballard unique and different is really that they started off as kind of a, well, first and foremost, way back, it was known as Shingle Town. There was a large lumber industry there. And then all the Scandinavians, Nova Scotians, and people from Sweden and Norway established a fishing and boating industry there that because of the Ballard locks and because of the access to water, really big there. So the neighborhood in and of itself, they still have net sheds, people that work in the Alaska fishing industry, and it's an interesting mix of commercial and residential places. So we have all those houses, townhouses, and apartment buildings, but you also have this interesting industrial area. Because of that, the industrial mixed use space, there's a ton of breweries. There's like 14 breweries within a mile walking distance of each other, plus all the other shops, restaurants, and bars, all right there in beautiful downtown Ballard, which is set up. It really feels like its own city because it used to be, right? So that's the context, that's the history. Before Seattle annexed it, it was its own city. So it has this really cool, walkable downtown area that's full of shops, restaurants, bars, and breweries, right? So that's one of the things that truly makes Ballard unique, is because it really does feel like you're in your own city, you're in your own town. I live in that area myself, and there's really, a lot of times I feel like there's no real reason to leave Ballard. Everything I need is right there. It's got good shopping, good grocery stores, plus, like I said, all those shops, restaurants, bars, and breweries. So what I really wanted to do today was just get into some of the pros and cons of living in Ballard, because being one of the top neighborhoods, one of the most desirable, one of the most young and fun and hip neighborhoods that people know about, there's a lot to be said for living in that area. Easy access to downtown, good access to get out and about, but also it feels a little off to the, a touch off to the side where, you don't feel like you're in a truly urban and dense environment like you might feel in, South Lake Union or Belltown or Pioneer Square, right? Those are going to be where all those tall skyscrapers are. So the pros and cons, really, the pros list we can rattle off super quick. We've touched on a few things here. So close access to downtown, close access to South Lake Union. You've got 15th that runs right through into the downtown corridor. You've got Highway 99 on the other side, kind of wrapping Ballard in a blanket. So you have these two thoroughfares to get right into downtown. And then next over would be I-5, which I don't super recommend if you live in Ballard to go out to I-5 to go into downtown. I would stick to 15th or 99, or even take 8th south as you, I don't know if there's a way to get a good map of this, but 8th will take you right down into Westlake and South Lake Union. Super easy, right? So you have all this south, very easy to get into downtown where a lot of the jobs are. And north, if you need to go into Edmonds or make your way up into, maybe you work at the north, the Everett Boeing facility, and you need to head north, It's pretty quick access to get north from Ballard to 99, get yourself over and up north. So the pros are, we have some of the most, craftsman, turn of the century, Tudor homes, decent sized lots, beautiful neighborhood, everything's laid out lot and block. There's plenty of sunshine as kind of that hill comes up and starts to slope down. You make your way over to Sunset Hill and you catch that southern exposure and southwest exposure as the sun sets, right? So in the Pacific Northwest, man, is it something to think about as your windows, and what direction your home face, where the light's gonna come from, because, half joking, 10 months out of the year, it's cloudy and drizzly and rainy, so you want to have that come in. So Ballard is really set up well to capture a lot of that south-facing, because there is a slope, right? And so as you go up the slope, everybody, if you're south-facing, has decent windows facing south, and then that southwest exposure. So it's the location-wise with proximity to it sounds really silly, but the way that the sun moves across the sky and everything, like, that's a big deal, right? So that's a huge pro, having access to that if you're in Whittier Heights or Loyal Heights or Sunset Hill, those three neighborhoods that kind of crest the hill. And then if you go further north of 85th, right, you get into Crown Hill, the street's trying to change a little bit. It doesn't quite have that same particular slope with that good access with that sun, the curve of the sun coming across the skyline there. So a little bit different there. And Crown Hill really isn't Ballard, but a lot of people put it together. So a pro would be the way that the land itself is laid out in the capturing of the sun, right? A pro would be the access to the downtown, everything that you need, bars, restaurants, shops, breweries, everything like that. A pro would be the easy access to downtown and through 15th, down 8th or Highway 99. It gives you that really clean access to get into downtown where a lot of folks might work. Okay, so these pros are really easy to enumerate and think of, and I'm sure we could continue, and I'll probably add a bunch in later, but let's really dive into the cons. Let's really think about what that lifestyle looks like and some of the things that cause problems for folks and things that people don't necessarily think about until you live there for a little while. And the number one thing I think about with Ballard is because of that industrial area, because of those, some of those, the way that the streets are, and because there's more sidewalks and there's generally more public space than, say, a Capitol Hill or a Pioneer Square, Ballard is one of the neighborhoods in Seattle that's riddled with homelessness. And I don't want to make light of homelessness because it's like an epidemic. It's a big problem, but it's something that you're going to see visibly time and again. So no matter where your stance is on how it should be handled or this or that or what the other thing, Seattle is homelessness, and it's apparent. There's a lot of RVs parked on the side of the road. There's a lot of tents in the median between the side of the road and the sidewalk. There's a lot of stray grocery carts all throughout this downtown area, this industrial portion of Ballard, and you're gonna see it, you can't miss it. If there's a big enough place to park, there's gonna be an RV there. There's gonna be this stuff. So as you get into the closer downtown portion of Ballard, that Adams neighborhood, or even that Gilman Park portion of Ballard, where there's a lot of light industrial and industrial buildings, it's just a ton of homelessness. You just can't get away from it. And so if that's something that really grinds your gears, we're living in a city, so there is these things that are apparent, but it is markedly more noticeable and more in your face than even in Capitol Hill, right? Capitol Hill, the sidewalks are much more narrow. They don't have as many tents on the streets. They don't have as much people camped out on the streets like that. So definitely something to consider. There's been multiple reports, lots of issues that have come up, and some people even try to report that petty theft is more because of the homeless population, although who's to say if they're just getting blamed for it because they're visibly there to see. So that's a huge con, right? It's awful, it sucks, it's the worst. The another con for a lot of people is gonna be, even though it's reasonable access into 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour if you hit every stoplight, right? If you take the bus, it's a little bit longer, but those thoroughfares into downtown, it's not quick and easy like living in downtown, right? If you live in South Lake Union, you can walk the bus. They got the South Lake Union Transit little light rail that you can bop around and make it really easy to get into work. Maybe your office is a few blocks away or something like that, but you're living in a different location in the neighborhood, so it becomes fairly car dependent. There is good parking in Ballard. There is decent parking on the streets of Ballard, and I remember a few years ago they started charging people, putting in it's a credit card machine, whatever you pay to park, right? For years and years and years, it had just been easy and open, and there's still a lot of available street parking in Ballard. But as Ballard has a lot of infill, those street parking is really getting swooped up, which leads me to my next big con for Ballard. Really is, you can get a great turn of the century, 20s, 30s, 40s home in Ballard, Tudor, Craftsman, all kinds of different, each era, each decade kind of had their different style. But because Ballard is poised as a urban village and has been, the city of Seattle said, hey, we want density to focus here in Ballard. We are seeing basically from 65th down and major corridors, we're seeing a lot of townhome infills. So maybe an older derelict home, your neighbor, they sell, or maybe it's not even in that bad a shape, but they sell to a developer and 4 or 6 townhomes go up in its place. So now all of a sudden, especially if that's to the west of you, right? Maybe you lose some of that summer sun coming into your home. There's a rambler in my neighborhood that now sits behind 2 townhomes, and those townhomes block the sun from that house. I mean, the townhomes are up to the south side, so that sun just hits the townhomes and never gets to the rambler. So if you're thinking about moving into Ballard and you want to have one of these great, Craftsman or great Tudor style homes in that neighborhood, you have to know that neighborhood is poised for an urban village, what Seattle calls an urban village. They want to focus their density there, and your neighbors may start selling to townhomes. So you might lose some of that neighborhood feel if you're looking for that. Realistically, if you want that type of home, you really should be stepping up into Queen Anne or stepping up into Ravenna or doing something different like that. The benefit though, let's throw a little benefit in there, right? The benefit is that all of a sudden, because of the development value of that home, should you live there for 5-7 years, you really have automatically 2 buyers, somebody who wants to move into that home that's going to love it, and they love that style of home, and you can get them to compete with a builder who sees the future opportunity of those townhomes, right? So you automatically have competition for that home, whereas in some areas where it just doesn't pan out that way. But Seattle is seeing a lot of that, even in some of the outskirts of Capitol Hill, where we see a lot of houses. We're seeing that area also infill with townhomes. Okay, so insofar as, let's just do a quick rundown, insofar as pros and cons, right? So the pros are proximity, bars, restaurants, and I didn't even bring up the parks and the beaches, access to easy outdoor activities, the Ballard Locks, the Golden Gardens. To the north, you got Carkeek Park, right, which is technically not in Ballard, but we'll take it because it's so super close. Sunset Hill Park, right? So a lot of cool parks, bars, restaurants, breweries, lot and block. Because of the way that the dirt is shaped, the hill, Sunset Hill, I mean, it's named that way because the sunsets in the Olympics are amazing, right? But the sun typically hits a lot of those houses because of the way that hill is shaped. Even if your neighbor to the south builds in front of you, it doesn't impact your sunshine as much, right? So something to consider. Insofar as cons, it is an area that has infill, so we're gonna see a lot of townhouses come up. Maybe your neighbor is in the process of selling to a townhome development, and you've purchased an older home, right? So that could be a con for you. how long it takes, being car dependent, off-street parking, and homelessness, all cons. So I hope this really helps give you some perspective about that Ballard neighborhood, the pros and cons. Personally, I think that Ballard is one of the all-time greatest neighborhoods Seattle has to offer, because the pros are definitely make an easy living lifestyle with great access to the outdoors and the water, and the neighborhood vibe with the, having all those bars and restaurants. It definitely has a great appeal to it, and a lot of it just feels like that great small town within a city that you hope, I don't know, maybe you're not looking for that, but that it just has everything, right? And good access to skyscrapers in a real city if you choose to go there. So really appreciate you checking this video out. Hopefully you got a ton of value from it. Like I said, we're helping people make this move all the time. If it's something that you're curious about, interested in, or want to know more, shoot us a text, give us a call. We can't help you if you don't reach out, right? So let us know how we can help you the most, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Talk to you.